I saw a young girl standing in the highway at night, but she was never really there. I've been a truck driver for almost 15 years. Long-haul routes mostly, the kind that stretch across state lines and swallow days in silence. The highway is my second home, or maybe my only one. People think the worst part of the job is the monotony, the loneliness, but they don't know the things the road keeps in its shadows. The things you only see when it's 2 a.m. and your headlights are the only light for miles. It started on Route 47. That night, I was hauling a shipment of industrial equipment from Des Moines to Kansas City. The road was quiet. Too quiet. No other cars. Just a long gray ribbon stretching through empty cornfields. That's when I saw her. She stood right in the middle of the highway. A girl, young, maybe 15 or 16. White dress, stained at the hem. Barefoot. Long black hair that clung to her face in damp strands. I hit the brakes hard, tires screaming. The truck skidded a little before stopping just feet from where she stood, or where she should have stood. But she was gone. I jumped out of the cab, heart racing, scanning the road with my flashlight. Nothing. No girl, no footprints, no sound but the ticking of my engine cooling in the night air. I searched the ditches, called out, even checked under the truck, half expecting to find something, someone injured. But the road was empty. Still, I couldn't shake the image. The pale face. The eyes that looked right at me. I told myself it was exhaustion. A trick of the light. Maybe fog. Maybe a deer I misread in the dark. But deep down I knew this wasn't over. I didn't see her again for another month. This time, I was passing through the same stretch of Route 47, close to midnight. I'd almost forgotten about that night. I had the radio on, sipping lukewarm coffee, when suddenly, there she was, standing on the shoulder this time. Not in the middle of the road, but just off to the side. Same white dress, same dripping hair, same expressionless face. But this time she was facing away from me. I slammed on the brakes again, my hands trembling as I stared at her through the windshield. She didn't move, didn't flinch. I honked the horn. Nothing. I turned on the high beams. She vanished. One blink, one breath, and she was gone. I stayed in the truck. Didn't dare step out this time. Instead, I drove off, faster than I should have, heart pounding like a drumbeat in my chest. Later, I searched online. Girl on Route 47. Ghost sightings, Iowa highway. I expected urban legends, hoaxes, even police reports. But there was nothing. No missing persons, no accidents, just a stretch of road people seem to ignore. A dead zone. And yet I kept seeing her, once at a gas station, reflected in the passenger side mirror. Another time, at a rest stop, standing just beyond the edge of the trees. She was following me, and somehow I knew she wanted me to stop. It was another driver who finally said something. I was parked at a truck stop off I-35, bleary-eyed and rattled from another close call the night before. An older guy, weathered face, eyes like broken glass, sat down next to me at the diner counter. "You've seen her, haven't you?" he asked, voice low. I didn't say anything at first, just stared into my coffee. "The girl," he added. "White dress, black hair, looks right at you like she knows you." I looked up, stunned. "How did you—" He nodded slowly. "You're not the first, won't be the last. Who is she?" He paused. "No one knows for sure. Some say she was a hitchhiker, picked up, murdered and dumped by the road. Others say she ran from home and never made it to safety. Me? I think she's looking for someone to take her home. Why me? I whispered. Because you noticed. That's all it takes. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a keychain. Old, rusted. If you ever see her again, don't stop. No matter what. Keep driving. No matter what she does. That night I dreamed of her, standing at the side of the road. But this time she was smiling, and her mouth was full of teeth. 2 nights later, I took a route I didn't usually drive. I told dispatch I needed something different, away from Route 47, away from Iowa altogether. They gave me a Texas run. I thought I was safe. But horror doesn't need a map. At exactly 2:14 a.m., somewhere between Abilene and San Angelo, I saw her again. This time she was closer, standing in the middle of the road. Not still. Moving, walking toward the truck. I couldn't stop, I wouldn't. I remembered what the old driver said. I gritted my teeth, pressed the gas pedal, and drove through her. There was no impact, no sound, just a burst of cold, like ice crawling into my lungs. And then I was alone, or so I thought. Minutes later I heard it, a knock, tap, 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 from the passenger side door. I didn't look, not right away, but the knock came again, tap, tap, tap. When I finally glanced over, the window was fogged, and in the condensation, drawn with a fingertip, was a single word, stay. I didn't stop that night. I didn't sleep. I drove until dawn. I left the truck in Houston and flew home. I haven't driven since, but sometimes in the quiet hours I hear it. Tap, tap, tap. And I wonder what would have happened if I had opened that door. The last passenger never gets off the bus. I've been driving the same night bus route in Galway, Ireland for almost 8 years now. Route 73 starts at Ayr Square at 9 p.m., loops through the quiet outskirts, then ends back in town just before midnight. Same streets, same stops, same silence. I like the predictability. After years behind the wheel, you begin to recognize the regulars. That older man who always clutches a crumpled newspaper, the couple that never says a word to each other, the student with headphones and heavy eyes. And then there are the nights where it's just me in the shadows. Nights where I feel like I'm driving through fog that's thicker than it should be. Nights where the hum of the engine is the only heartbeat in the world. That Tuesday started just like any other. The October air was damp and the windshield smeared easily with mist. I greeted the passengers as they boarded, smiled out of habit more than warmth. At the last stop before we turned around, Kilroe Cross, I saw someone I didn't recognize. He stepped on slowly, without looking up. Black coat, too big for his frame. Hood pulled forward, casting a shadow over his face. No luggage, no umbrella, nothing in his hands. He didn't speak, didn't ask where we were going, just nodded once and moved to the very back. I assumed he was one of the usual loners, maybe someone who missed the earlier bus, maybe just cold and needed a place to ride. But even then, something about him stuck with me. It wasn't just his silence, it was how he moved, like he didn't belong to the world around him. Or worse, like he belonged somewhere else entirely. I tried not to think too hard about it. A driver's job is to focus on the road, not on the passenger's problems. But I found myself glancing in the mirror more often than usual. And every time I did, I caught the faintest glimmer, like his eyes were reflecting light that wasn't there. The route continued. Passengers trickled off one by one, their footsteps echoing on wet pavement. The man in the black coat never moved. I watched him through the rearview mirror, still, silent, staring forward. Never out the window, never at me. His body was motionless, but I had the unsettling impression that he was listening. Not to the engine, not to the hum of tires, but to me. By 11:30, the bus was nearly empty. The last regular left at Brina Hill, tossing a quick cheers over his shoulder. Now it was just me and him. I cleared my throat. "Last stop's coming up," I said, raising my voice slightly. No answer. I tried again. "Hey buddy, Air Square's the end of the line. You'll need to get off there." Still nothing. I slowed the bus to a crawl. We were nearing the terminal, the lights of the square flickering through the mist. I glanced into the mirror one last time. He was gone. The back seat? Empty. I turned around completely, panic prickling at the back of my neck. Every row was vacant. The red seat cushions stretched out like a rib cage. No coat. No footsteps. No sound of a door. The security camera feed above me blinked softly. I stared at the timestamp, watching seconds pass. No glitches. No footage of anyone moving toward the front. But I saw him. He got on. I felt him. I pulled into the bay and sat there, engine idling, my breath fogging up the glass. I didn't say anything to the station staff. What would I even say? After that night, he started appearing more often. Not every shift, but often enough that I knew it wasn't my imagination. Same coat, same hood, same silent presence in the back seat. I began dreading that stop, Kilrow Cross. The moment the doors hissed open, my stomach would tighten. Sometimes he'd get on, sometimes he wouldn't. But when he did, I stopped trying to speak to him. I tried taking photos once. I angled my phone in the mirror, snapped a few quick shots as I drove. But when I checked later, the images showed empty seats. Every one of them. I spoke to my supervisor, told him I felt uneasy driving that late. He offered me a morning route for a few weeks. I took it gladly. I thought maybe a break would clear my head, but even when I wasn't on the road, I saw him in reflections, in puddles, in windows. Once I passed by a bus shelter and saw my own bus sitting there, empty, lights flickering, and in the back seat, a figure in black. I blinked, and the shelter was empty again. Sleep became a stranger. I started drinking more. My wife noticed. My friends drifted away. I stopped mentioning the man altogether. There was no point. You can't explain to people that a ghost has claimed your bus, because by then I knew he wasn't alive. But he was real. It's been months since he last appeared, or maybe I've just stopped noticing. But last night, something changed. I was driving the usual route, quiet night, damp air. At Kilrow Cross, the doors opened, but no one got on. I let out a shaky breath. Relief, maybe. But when I looked in the mirror, he was already there. Back seat. Hood pulled forward. Head tilted slightly. I gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles ached. "You win," I whispered. I didn't stop at Air Square. I kept driving. Out past the last stop. Past where the roads are marked. Into the forest beyond the industrial zone, where old roads twist like veins and fog eats the headlights. The further I drove, the lighter I felt. like I was shedding layers of something I didn't know I'd been carrying. I don't remember turning the bus off. Don't remember stepping outside, but I do remember standing in the dark, cold earth beneath my boots and the sound of a second set of footsteps behind me. I turned. He was standing there, but for the first time I could see his face, and it looked just like mine. The 3 a.m. delivery that saved me from something horrific. Most people don't think twice about the folks who deliver their packages in the dead of night. But for drivers like me, freelancers for a third-party courier, it's the only way to survive. Night deliveries pay more, no traffic, no managers breathing down your neck. Just me, my beat-up white van, and the open road. It was a cold Thursday night in rural Pennsylvania, early November. The kind of night where mist clings low to the asphalt and the trees hang heavy like shadows watching from the side. I had one last delivery to make, a rush package to a remote farmhouse about 40 miles outside town. I remember checking the address twice. 22 Hollow Bend Road. I didn't recognize it. GPS showed a thin gray line that twisted through forest and ended in nothing. Just a pin dropped in the woods. Still, the job paid extra. A sensitive item according to the dispatch note. No signature required, just drop and go. It was 2:36 a.m. when I pulled onto Hollow Bend Road. No streetlights, no mailboxes, just dirt and silence. As the trees grew denser, I slowed to a crawl. My headlights barely cut through the fog. And that's when I saw it. A figure standing at the edge of the trees, not moving, facing the road. I blinked and it was gone. I shook my head. Probably a deer, or my brain playing tricks after a long shift. But the chill that ran through my spine told a different story. At exactly 3:02 a.m., I reached the farmhouse. It looked abandoned, the paint peeled in long strips. The front porch sagged like a mouth ready to scream. No lights, no car in the driveway, just an eerie, unnatural stillness. Still, I had a job to do. I grabbed the small package from the back, no label, no return address, and walked toward the porch. My boots crunched on gravel, echoing far too loudly in the quiet. As I reached the steps, I hesitated. Something felt wrong, like the house was watching me, but I pressed on. Left the package beside the door, snapped a photo for proof of delivery. That's when I heard it, a creak. From inside the house, I froze, heart hammering. There was no reason for anyone to be up at this hour, not in a house that looked like it hadn't been lived in for years. Another creak, this time closer. Floorboards under pressure. I backed away slowly. Whatever was inside hadn't turned on a light, hadn't spoken, just moved. I climbed back into the van and locked the doors, my breath fogging up the windshield. I stared at the house for a long moment, engine idling, and then without warning the front door opened. Just a crack, enough to see darkness, and in that sliver of black, 2 eyes, pale, wide, unblinking, watching me. I didn't wait. I slammed the gear into reverse, gravel flying, tires skidding. Whatever was in that house, it wasn't waiting for a thank you note. I drove for miles, heart racing, knuckles white on the wheel. Every curve of the road felt like a trap. Every rustle in the trees a whisper. Eventually, I reached a fork where the GPS told me to turn right, but something deep in my gut screamed left. I hesitated, and then my phone rang. Unknown number, 3:17 a.m. I shouldn't have answered, but I did. A woman's voice, raspy, terrified. "Don't go back." I froze. Who is this? "Don't go back, they know your name now." Click. Line dead. I threw the phone onto the passenger seat, heart in my throat. What the hell was that? I didn't turn back. I didn't go right. I took the detour down a longer, rougher road, one I'd never used before, and that detour saved me, because the next day I checked the news. At 3:30 a.m., a driver was reported missing. Last seen delivering on Hollow Bend Road. Van found abandoned, doors open. No sign of him. Just one detail stood out. A package still sitting on a front porch. Same address, 22 Hollow Bend Road. It's been 3 months since that night. I quit delivery work, moved across the state, changed my number, but sometimes I still see them. Figures in the woods watching. Sometimes when I'm alone at a gas station late at night, I catch a face in the rearview mirror that isn't mine. I even got a package last week. No label, no return address. Inside was a photo, a picture of me standing on the porch of that farmhouse, with something behind me, its face pressed against the glass of the front door. I don't know what I delivered that night, but I think it opened a door, and whatever I saw, it's not done with me yet.